the market system does not give you feedback on philanthropy like it does if you're running a business. If you open a restaurant and the public doesn't like your food, you know it within days. If you do the wrong things in philanthropy, you don't get a feedback from the market system. Second thing is it's more difficult because you're tackling the tough problems of society. In business, you can look for easy situations, but in philanthropy, if you're doing important philanthropy, you're tackling problems that have defied intellect and money for a long period of time. And they can be diseases that are hard to eradicate. For example, polio is close to eradicated, but it hasn't been eradicated. And so it's a tougher sort of thing, but it's vitally important. So just because an activity is tough does not mean that you ignore it. You do your best to grade yourself, but again, you're tackling problems that have a long timetable to them, a long feedback period before you know whether you did the right thing or not. So it's much more difficult, frankly, than business. But it's vital that it be done well, be done with scale, be done intelligently, and that's what we're going to try and do.
You are a significant investor in POSCO, whose projects don't seem to be taking off in India. Will you be discussing this with the government of India when you meet the Prime Minister?
Yeah, I don't understand exactly the question, but we are a significant investor in POSCO. We bought that probably 6 years ago. We bought a little over 4% interest, and my understanding is that they are expanding in India. I did not know this.
Is there anything in the India growth story that you think falls outside your circle of confidence?
Oh, there are many areas outside of my area of confidence, many activities, including in the United States. There are a number of businesses that I know are going to do well, where the industry is going to do well, but I don't know which companies are going to do well within that business. For example, in the United States, there were roughly 2,000 automobile companies established since 1900. All but a few failed. So it wasn't hard to figure out that the auto industry had a wonderful future. It was very hard to figure out which company to buy. And that's the way I feel about many of the industries that are developing. I think the industry is going to do well, change people's lives and all of that. I just don't know who the winner is going to be in terms of the companies participating. So I leave that to other people. And I focus on things that I understand. I understand this product very well. Well, it would be the same way as in the United States or any other place. It would be businesses where I think I understand the future reasonably well for the next 5 or 10 or 20 years. And that would not tend to be anything. It would not tend to be industries that are changing rapidly. Where there's rapid change, there are going to be a few successes and many failures, and I'm not good at predicting which ones will be the successes. So I look for industries with relatively modest rates of change, where I think that the people that are doing well today are going to be the people that are doing well 5 and 10 years from now.
Mr. Buffett, Nikhil Shivras from ET Now. How bullish are you on emerging markets, considering the fact that they face high inflation and deficits, big deficits?
Well, emerging markets are tougher for one thing. In many emerging markets, I do not consider India an emerging market. I mean, I consider it a very big market. But if you're looking at what many classify as emerging markets, the businesses tend to be much smaller, and that just doesn't fit Berkshire Hathaway. We need to invest billions of dollars, and that's very tough in many emerging markets. They just aren't that large. So we tend to look at larger countries. But we would, in India, China, Brazil, United Kingdom, Germany, you name it, those all fit us. Very small markets just don't fit us.
Mr. Buffett, another question here from CNBC India.
Although I would add one thing to that. Our businesses do go into those countries. I mean, we own 70 plus businesses, and obviously they want to expand in those kinds of markets. But in terms of making a big stock investment, they're not a good prospect for us.
Just another question here from CNBC India, where in Bangalore City, and Bangalore City has found a reference in many speeches made by President Obama, especially when it comes to the entire outsourcing debate. There seems to have been a fear that jobs were being outsourced to countries like India and China. How do the American people, how does average America perceive India? Is India seen as an economic threat to America at this point in time?
Well, if you have 309 million Americans, some people are going to feel that anything is a threat, that whether it's India or China or Japan or you name it. But I am an enormous believer in trade. The more trade the world has, the better over time. And right now, the United States is exporting perhaps 12% of its GDP. That's up from 5% 40 years ago. That's a good thing. But it'll be an even better thing when we're exporting more and we're importing more. Trade is essential to the world's prosperity, and the more prosperous the rest of the world is, the better off it is for the United States. The world is not a zero-sum game in terms of trade and economic activity. In fact, it's just the opposite. The more India prospers or China prospers, the more the United States is going to prosper over the long term. And there are people in every country that resist that idea, whether it's the United States or you name it around the world. But I think they've been shown to be wrong by economic history, and I think they'll continue to be shown wrong.